Hello, folks. This is something in Kaiser's Castle. Take a seat on my big orange couch. I have a special treat for you today. I have eltenda, and I'm going to let him introduce his show on YouTube for you all. And he, last week, discovered a gun. It's a good gun. It's a Henry AR7. As you can see in the pictures, uh, there is a Henry AR7. And you also see on the left hand side of it an Explorer pistol. And that stock that you see, when you're seeing that adjustable stock on the Henry portion on the right, that's a stock that you can actually adjust. But the other stock, all the components fit in unless you have a barrel shroud on it. Okay? And so that's an important thing to talk about. But we're going to get into the weeds with it. But first, I want eltenda to just give you a little introduction on my page and fully happy that you're all sitting on my big orange couch. You got your tea, you got your coffee, you have your soda, or even your adult libation. And join us for this intimate talk from a man that I respect highly. Go ahead, Eltenda.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? My name is Vianello Fabrizio Altenda, better known as Altenda, on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. I go for the name Altenda. It's an old nickname that I had when I was playing airsoft in Italy, and so I got the name. I got stick with me forever. Plus, it's easier than not spell my name probably. I've been here for a few years, and I'm an American citizen for about 2 years, and I work for a gun manufacturer right now. Previously, I used to work in a retail store. I run a YouTube channel on my free time, nothing too technical, nothing too much of a video editing, but I try to do videos, simple, short videos with content, such the one we did recently. And
Yep.
that's it.
Yep, that's exactly it. That's what here's the difference is I have owned these things since the 1980s. I still have my Armalite. Are you ready to laugh at me? Eltinda? I have had these uh, types of guns for years. And I promised him on the video he did that we would do an in depth, deep dive. And I guess I'm falling through, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So start out with any questions you have because I know you have found out that the AR7 is a complete jam machine, right?
Yeah. So for well, to be honest with you, sorry, I didn't shoot it too much. We brought it out probably 3 times, and I purchased that gun in 2000. Oh shoot, 2012. Yeah, when I got my Foyd card, a little bit after that. Yeah, probably my third gun I ever bought. Sorry. So yeah, but we didn't shoot too much because I don't enjoy particularly plinking indoor. And as far outdoor ranges, we don't have a lot of options. So I always, when I purchased a gun, I was specifically looking for a takedown rifle between slashes and a 22 caliber, which is a decent round for small games and stuff like that. If you're in the middle of, on the wilderness, you know what I mean? An emergency. And the
Oh,
plus
yeah.
is the fact that it's compact. You can literally, in theory, supposed to float and everything. But like I said, I use it really not that much, but it has some pro and some cons. As far jamming, I can't say it's jam on me so far because I've been lucky. Maybe I've been using the same box of Remington, I think was, or something else. Like I was telling you before, I don't have the
Remington
box anymore.
Remington Thunderbolt.
Probably, yeah, probably are Remington Thunderbolt. And I have a bunch of 22 ammo that I brought to the years, but honestly, it's the only 22 that I own actually. So I don't have any other measure or comparison. I was gonna buy a 1022 eventually, because it's a classic, American classic.
Oh yeah,
And
the 1022 takedowns a far superior product, but the AR7 has a place. Like you said, it
Mhm,
does float as long as you're using the normal stock. On the left hand side, you see that stock on my
mhm,
page. What you're seeing is it has a waterproof seal on the back, and I have friends who had sunk a canoe, and guess what? The only thing they were able to retrieve the AR7,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
it's very factual. There's no,
Mhm,
it stores the receiver, the barrel, and the one magazine. So if you have extras, have them in your pocket. If that
mhm,
canoe goes over, they're all going down to the bottom. But
mhm,
the interesting thing when you talk about this is that with all the accoutrements you can buy, and I'll tell you where to buy them from. It's a company called AR7.com.
okay.
And you'll be able to find everything we're talking about right now. Um, when I was young, you couldn't find, well, there's some things you can't find from AR7.com, just being honest, because they don't make a few things now. Um, like, well, we'll get to it as we go down this line.
Mhm,
You had different manufacturers during the time. It started out with Armalite. That's the gun that I have. That's a go-to. I'm kind of a collector of them, and they're scattered around.
mhm,
Um, it's a good gun, in my opinion. Without a good cleaning, you're looking at maybe 100 rounds until it becomes a jam factory.
okay.
Because if you haven't had it to a smith, a gunsmith, and he hasn't ramped it, and there's some other things they have to do to it. The problem is now it's a problem and a benefit. Let me rephrase that. You have an aluminum barrel with a steel liner that is rifled. So that's a benefit if you're thinking about controlling heat. It's a
Mhm,
negative if you're talking about um, some other things like prolonged
mhm.
fire. Um,
Yep.
it can build up um, problems quickly with the rim fire, with dirty ammunition. Let me rephrase that. But the best ammo I found, just like we were talking about earlier, is the 22 Thunderbolt. Your thoughts?
Mhm. No, I mean, when you mean clean, you mean the entire gun or just the barrel? Because some guns, for example, once as long you clean the barrel and the bolt, it's you're just wipe it off, you're fine. Some system, like for example, some, the only thing I have to say, the barrel I just use a bore snake. You know what I mean? Because I don't shoot that much of a gun, on a gun, but and other than that, the cleaning part is a kind of a pain in the butt because it's not the easiest gun to the system is not the easiest thing to put together again. It's not like easier like an AR-15 or an AK. I mean, two springs and a pin. It's a little bit weird. It's a weird design. You know what I mean? Compared to a regular AR. But other than that, like I said, as far jamming, I don't have an experience of jamming. Maybe I was using the right ammo, like we said before. If I have to point like cons as far the gun goes, it's the limited capacity of the magazines. That's one con, clearly. The front side, at least on mine, is plastic. You know, so it's kind of you know what I mean. And
Yep.
what else? Yeah, it's like you said before. The receiver is a little bit fragile. It's not the most the thickest receiver in the world. So I might see that as a weak point. You drop it or something goes on the top of it. I don't know. I would be afraid to break the gun per se, which is not something you're afraid to do with an AK or an AR. Well, some part of the AR maybe, but
Well,
uh,
unless you broach the receiver, i.e., trying to
mhm,
cut a drill in the bottom and the top to try to get, pistol. If you have a class 3, or not a class 3, a class 2 license that you're trying to submit, and you can't do this until you actually get approved for it. The funny thing about the pistol uh, barrels, they go from 4, 6 to 8 inch. Don't go below that because you'll have feeding problems and other things.
Okay.
Um, but the point being is, it's very simple to clean, and I think you're over engineering it. First thing, you just screw the barrel off. You take your bore snake down it. That's cool. Have somebody that knows how to ramp an AR7, and it's a slight ramp. You can't go too deep because, like I said, it's still lined, and the rest is aluminum. But so you have to find somebody that's very skilled in what they're doing. But the point being is, you clean that, you clean the chamber, i.e., where that rimfire is going to land and fire out of. And the other key part is to clean the bolt face. That's the key part, along with the extractor, because most jams happen from the extractor and the breech face. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
So,
yep.
and you have to make sure, if you're doing all these things that I'm telling you, you have to make sure it's, like I said, you've got about 100 rounds until you're having problems. 1,000 rounds, I put these things through torture tests. You're not going to have no problems with barrels or anything else, no matter what kind of mags you're using and how much you're feeding them through. Now, if you're getting double stacks, that's a mag problem. We all know this.
Yeah.
But in actuality, it can also be, timing. And the other thing that people don't realize, and remember this, folks, if your AR7 ever does this, you need to take it to a gunsmith instantly. If you're at the range and you pull the trigger back and it fires, and as you release it, it fires again. Now remember, by ATF law and rules, if it fires with a single pull, i.e., pulling it back, releasing is not another pull, it's the same pull, and it fires again. If it fires 2 or more rounds, it is now classified as a machine gun. And you need to have that fixed by qualified armor if it ever happens to you. And it's a very common thing that can happen to AR7s. So,
yeah, even other guns. I
yeah.
see that happen in other guns.
Yes.
The only thing you need is pretty much a bad, a bad part on the trigger, and oh, look at that double tapping, like, yeah, you don't want to do that,
Exactly. So that's kind of the point I'm trying to get to, is that Vianella, eltenda,
No problem. Yep.
he knows what he's talking about. He's fired a lot of guns. He has a lot of experience. I think he might have told you about it, why I had to step away for a second. And good man. Former, do you want to say the military you were with, or no? You don't
Yeah,
have
no
to.
problem, no problem. Yeah, in
Okay.
Italy we are draft, so it's an option. You can serve, or you do some civil stuff, but back in time wasn't exactly a good choice, because you will be labeled as a coward, or people with a mental problem, you know what I mean, or something like that. So if you're trying to get a job, you will get in trouble. So in Italy, what you do a 3-day visit, they do a physical, physical, psychological, and stuff like that. And they give you the option. You can pick up your unit, okay? So it makes your life easier in theory. So you can pick up paratrooper, you can pick up, well, doesn't mean necessarily gonna send you. You gotta have some, your physics specification. So I pick up anti-tank unit, but the problem is they end up sending me to a unit called Unità d'Arresto, which were the unit at the border with Yugoslavia. So we were
Right.
pretty much controlling all the bunkers at the border with Yugoslavia. It's like machine guns, tanks in concrete, and anti-tank, all the Navy cannons hiding behind a mountain, all, like World War II style, like the German used to do, So, um,
Oh yeah.
yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you
Yeah, sorry.
fine. I was like, oh yeah, I thought you
Yeah,
had
somebody
more to
was.
say. Sorry about that, brother. Uh,
No, somebody was trying to call me. No, somebody was trying to call me. Sorry. And yeah, that being said, I was gonna say sorry. Yeah, so I served there for a year, which is a good experience, and I end up doing. Oh man, I end up doing 1 day out of 4 of my service in guarding pretty much. So we were doing patrols with police, and if I was guarding, I was, instead of working in the kitchen, cleaning the kitchen, I actually end up volunteer for armory works, cleaning guns, disassembling. In Italy we have billions, millions of M1 Garand. So we used to take 8 shitty ones and turn in one decent gun or 2 decent guns. So changing
yep.
parts and swiping parts. So we were like same story, with the tanks. You have 10 tanks that were falling apart. You pull parts from every tank, you make one that works. Like in every army. So it was a brief experience, and I tried to stay in the army after that, but I got a little accident in the army, physical accident. So, they couldn't let me stay. Plus, back in the time in Italy, we were paid like, I think was paid like $150 a month. So it wasn't exactly a good job. You know what I mean? Um, but
Oh
then,
yeah.
I've always been fascinated by weapons. And I grew up, I'm born in 1973, so I grew up during the Cold War. So I always been fascinated by especially Eastern Bloc vehicles, Germans vehicle, World War II vehicles, and and Russian and Eastern Bloc vehicle. I don't know why two things so different. I always been fascinated by these two different um, technological skills. You know what I mean? I think they got something common no matter what, even if they were World War II, and there's something going on between Germans way to build tanks and Russians, clearly. But if
And
you look at the
Americans.
American too. If you look at the Panther versus the T-34, they got the modern tanks. They still have some, something they remember, they got from that technology. But and that being said, so I always like that. So I was lucky enough to be sorry, to start working for a gun manufacturer, local gun manufacturer. So to me, it's a good experience. I learn a lot. I try to share my knowledge. I'm not a gunsmith. I'm not an expert, but when I do video in order to let people avoid to buy stuff they don't need or stuff that
Right.
is
Right.
worthless. You know what I mean? So the AR was a perfect example. It's not the best 2022 in the world. Absolutely, there are far better choices, but you don't have a lot of guns, a lot of rifles, that you can actually keep in such a compact size. You can literally put on a backpack, you know what I mean? Or in the
Oh.
saddle of your bike,
Oh yeah.
you know what I mean? Or
The interesting part, most people don't think about the AR7. Um, and I'm not hijacking. If you have more to say, come at the
no, no,
end
no,
of
no, no.
this. Um,
Sure, totally.
um, Vianello and I met years ago. He's a good dude. I'm telling you, I'm half Sicilian, and we became fast friends. And thank God he's a U.S. citizen now, and
Yeah,
he is a benefit to our country. So my point is, it's interesting to me that he had so much exposure to different things, and I'm very thrilled that uh, he is able eltenda is able to share his thought process on different guns, because the European thought process, look, I have a Carcano, and I don't want to hijack this program for the Carcano, but the one thing that was so hilarious was everybody in America always is like, oh, this Carcano, it can't hit shit. Well, when the Carcano Mannlicher carbine was made, the 6.5 by 52 was made,
mm-hmm.
it was not designed to be the top of your sight crosses your rear sight at the top.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be at the V, the bottom of the sight,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
that's where your accuracy lies. But with the AR7, the interesting part is you have several different sights you can choose from. You have
Okay.
a you have a depending on what sites you get. And notice I said earlier where to buy them. You can get the knife sight in the back, or you can get that circular sight. You know, that nice little peephole sight.
Yep.
And
Yep.
as long as you line that up perfectly in the middle, you're gonna hit every time. It may misfire, something may happen, but you just have to do rack tap and ready. Now, with that, I'm
Hmm.
changing at this point, and I want you to go on with your experiences on shooting it. But I'm going to change to the Ramline magazine, which is a 25 round magazine. Like I said, there were 8 and 10 round magazines built with these guns from Armalite. It was
Okay.
supposed to be an Air Force survival rifle, and it was fielded for that purpose. But
Hmm.
then Ramline came out in the 80s and developed this, and this is the smoke color that I'm about to show right now. And it's being shown at this time, and that means you can see the bullets inside, which is kind of cool. But for some reason, the black and the smoke colors was a lot less tough than what they were
Okay.
using with the black plastic. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I know. I never tried them. Now that you mentioned, I'm gonna check the store AR7.com. I gotta check because, like I said, the only limitation is the capacity of the magazine. Gotta be on one of the few. If you had, again, is I see the point of the 7 round magazine because it's compact. If it fits in the stock. It doesn't give. It's also in the design of the gun kind of makes sense because it's flush pretty much with the receiver, almost flush with the receiver, and it's not sticking out. So I see the point to be a compact gun, so worst case scenario, you can put it on your back with a sling or something, it's not like something like a long rifle that's going to be on your way. You can literally put that rifle in front of your chest with a sling and hike or do something like that. It's not that's such a big gun, it's not in your way. So you can still do whatever, hiding somewhere, it's not like a gun gonna give you big exposure. But again, it's meant to be like you said, a survivor rifle, an emergency gun. You chopper is taken down by somebody. You're not gonna pretending to engage a battalion of NBA, but if one of them gets too close, at least you got something. You know what I mean?
Oh, I do, and that's the funniest part, bro. Back in the day during the Cold War in the '80s, when I was over there, uh, these guns we're talking about, were heavily filtered in, along with the other guns from the Second World War. They were
Mm-hmm.
heavily filtered into, and you and I both know what this is, Operation Gladio,
Uh-huh.
and that's a fact. And
Yep.
the funniest part was during that time in the '60s, they were giving a little nod to it by having James Bond go to Italy, getting up with the gypsies, and he used it as an assassination rifle, which it can't be. Well, I guess it can. I mean, we'll talk about that later, but the point being is he dropped a helicopter with it.
Yeah, that's a little
You,
bit too much.
yeah, you better be pretty skilled with a rifle to do that, even a
Yeah, I mean,
semi.
I understand.
Yeah,
Yeah, I understand that the Mossad was using the 22 for, the 71 Beretta for most of the killings, but they were like a few feet close. At least, the 22 is still a lethal round, a close distance. No, even close. Sometimes, if you know what you're doing, you gotta know where to shoot. But an
right.
airplane, I think, is a little bit too much. Sorry, an helicopter is a little bit too much.
Yeah, no, it's hilarious, bro. I mean, but you've seen that James Bond. Everybody's seen it.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
so it's. But look, what's the purpose of a pistol? It's to get you to your rifle. So
Yep.
if 22 rifles what you got, you can only fuck with the cock you got. So
Yeah. Yeah, like I say, in everybody, in the movie you see another thing. I don't want to digress too much. If you look any fictional movie, you see this. I was watching actually interesting series. I don't want to change the subject, but it's called The Colony on Netflix. Actually interesting because I think there's more like a metaphor going on about the Martian coming over here and make colonies of humans. Actually, I think it's more like a metaphor. But anyway, you see this freedom fighter having like AR-15, first of all, with lasers and grenade launchers, full auto, which I never saw a civilian with such a gun. But anyway, they kill the enemy. They have MP7s, G36. Well, the funny thing, first of all, they throw away the magazine every time they are done shooting, which I would never do that because in America and in Somalia, I learned the lesson by then, by throwing away the magazine empty and end up having no more magazines to fill up. But that being said, you see that they throw away the magazine first thing, and second, they never pick up the enemy guns, which are far better than their guns. You know what I mean? Or whatever thing they can steal, radios or grenades. Make an example. So that being said, fictional movies and stuff, they always been crazy. There's a few movies that actually I've seen that are actually accurate. You know what I mean? Like
yep,
realistic, or close enough to realistic. Even like Black Hawk Down, there's some part that arguable. You know what I mean? If you wrote a book and you compare the book with a movie, there's a way big difference.
yep,
Or we're young in Vietnam. What was the movie? We're young in Come on, when Mel Gibson. I wrote the book, by the way, beautiful book too, and it's huge difference. Black Hawk Down. They never mentioned they were shooting the 50 cals on the roof, on the windows. You can see them pointing way down. When actually in reality, I'm pretty sure everybody was shooting everything because it's part of the deal.
oh
Once you
yeah,
get with it, you want to take your ass home. you
oh yeah. That's that's
know.
what that's what all of us soldiers have. That's the funny thing. Um, eltenda uh, will tell you. I'm half Sicilian, so I understand my Italian roots. So the funny part now is that I'm gonna put up what I like to call the complete, and that shows you a barrel shroud, not attached, but it also shows the normal stock and how everything would go. It's assembled. Then you have a 25 round Ramline magazine. They do not make them anymore. Trust me, they had a lifetime guarantee. And when the
Oh wow.
smoke one that I bought broke, I tried to call them and I couldn't even get a hold of anybody. But they
So they
had,
don't make this 20.
hmm?
They don't. Sorry, no, I interrupt. They don't make this 24 round magazine anymore. That's what you're saying,
Yeah, the
correct?
25 round magazine is not made anymore. Uh, AR7.com does have, but they're out of stock at the moment. They do
Mm-hmm.
have 15 round mags and 10
Okay.
rounds, which are out of, but they have the 8 rounds. And it's an interesting thought process if you're looking at it. But on this
Mm-hmm.
picture, there's another type of, it's almost like an MP5, but it has a spring and
Okay.
two ball bearings to catch it and two wires coming back like an MP5. And it locks in. And it's a good type of thing, for
Mm-hmm.
a buttstock.
Yeah.
But,
I
and
mean, yeah.
it all connects to the receiver the same way. It's just a wire type, like a damn. Um, why am I mind dumping? Um, Jesus, I can't believe I'm mind dumping right now. Like a Mac 10 or a Mac 11, except
Okay.
it doesn't have the. There's no click. There's no H and K little lever to lock
Mm-hmm.
stuff in. It's just spring loaded. And if you pulled it out, it would the ball bearings would fly out, and so would the spring. Uh, but it works anyway. So they worked really functionally well. And in the picture I chose to grab, the interesting part is an old school, not as old school as you and I knew, the old school lasers that were about like a flashlight that went under our shit,
Mm-hmm.
during the Cold War, but it's under the bottom of the barrel. And so that's an interesting thing. These
Yeah.
are things I found. It's not like I own this shit, but yeah. But the interesting thing, there was black. Here's what the stock colors you had were. Back with Armalite, you had a different color, but with when you went to um, my land, why am I, Charter Arms, when you went
Okay.
to Survival Arms, and now Henry. Henry does not have any of those colors. It's just black. Oh, I think there's might be an orange kind of thing too, with Henry. But with Survival Arms, you had a brown and a black, matte black, hard matte black, meaning a rough finish. And um, then with Charter Arms, I think Charter Arms was the one who revolutionized a camo. And when I put this post up, you're gonna laugh. I had one. Well, I had one. That's all I'll say. And it's just like somebody drew and it's smooth. There is nothing there. And so then in this picture, you see the difference between 8 round, a 10 round, and a 15 round magazine in this picture. And you'll see it. And
Okay.
that is for real. That's actually what it looked like. So we've explored the magazine options. Uh, we've explored a lot on this stuff, and I would love to hear your input. I'm gonna bounce for a sec, and would love to hear your thoughts.
Um, so like I was saying, I think it's a good. Uh, it's an affordable gun. With my, if I was thinking to buy my first 22, I would probably consider it. You know what I mean? There are other options. I start to regular 22. The 1022 Ruger is a good gun too. I heard that Savage has a couple of good ones. I'm not a particular fan of look like real guns in 22, like ARs or AKs. Unless you use a conversion kit, then it allows you to go back to original design. Like for AR-15, they sell like a bolt. You pull a regular AR bolt, okay. You put this conversion bolt and a magazine specific for that. So in that point, maybe I would do that. But that being said, sorry, I don't want to digress. I will I recommend it. It's a good gun. I like it because it's compact. Like we said before, easy to storage. If you're traveling, backpacking, kayaking, somehow it has a pretty easy safety to engage, and it's also the fact that at least mine, it's easy to insert the magazine,
Yep.
disassemble it. So I see a gun dump proof if you want to, and also I will say a gun also friendly for kids because if you want to teach your kids, because it's easy to learn how to load, how to engage the safety. You know what I mean? Is a the I think it's a pretty I would say in English simple in its design and in use. So I would say it's also a good gun for a beginner.
Oh yeah, because if it gives a lot of jam practice, and
Yep.
what I mean by that is how to clear a jam, a stovepipe, whatever you got, double feed. you get a lot of experience with that, and that's what I used to tell people. Now, the interesting part to me is that I love this platform for a myriad of reasons. I will tell people different books to look at. Uh, do research. There's probably 12 books written just on this platform. Honestly, just on this platform. And but the two most important books, one of them is the AR7 Super Systems. That's very important. It'll tell you everything up to a class 3 kind of thing. Okay? You'll understand the gun a lot more when you can see what it can do because it's so basic. It can do, it's like, I try to think to the OSS days. If we actually needed to help Italians to repel people trying to come into their countries, I think the AR7 would be the gun we would use today, not the other guns we use by the OSS. Secondly, there's a very good book called Hitman, and you have to understand. I think both of these are made by Paladin Press, if I can remember right. I don't have them in front of me. I should have them, so I can tell you.
Yeah, I'm looking right now.
Yeah, and that gun, because you have to remember, it's an aluminum barrel with a steel shroud on the inside for the lands and grooves that make that bullet travel true. So, for reasons from that book, you have to read the book. I'm not going to tell you. You have to read the book. That gun, if you're overseas and doing the work, guess what? That gun doesn't get traced to anybody. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. And the nice thing is, everything can be taken apart. And a rat tail file on the bolt face and the chamber and the barrel changes ballistics. So that's all I'll say on that.
Yeah, I mean it's like I said, it's an interesting. It's not the best of the 22s, but it has I would say in English, a section, a room, for something, specific. He has his own small, precise role as a gun. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not like, like I said, it's not the top choice for the 22, but it has a specific reason why you should buy it. Like we said
and
before,
it's
we were
accurate.
talking about. Yeah. Oh yeah. Fuck. The sides are, other than be plastic, which is the only downside. The front sides that I told you before is the only thing kind of scares me a little bit. But other than that,
you can replace that if you go to AR7.com. So,
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can.
Other than that, sorry.
I was just saying you can replace that if that's your, but you won't be able to replace the plastic groove it goes into in the barrel. So I think you're right both ways. I guess you can if you buy the Explorer 2 front sights. So I guess I'm lying to you right now because if you bought those, they actually ring the barrel. But you're gonna have to, if you're not a armorer or comfortable with being an armorer. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Like every, sorry, like every gun has its own downsides, and I don't think I think I like it, and I bought it first for the compact. The fact that it's compact. Second, like I mentioned in the video, because it reminded me a Hitman gun, and seeing the movie. Probably I didn't think about James Bond actually. Since a Bond fan, I've been a long time. I haven't seen any of the movies actually. I didn't thought about James Bond, but it's classic. They remind me the classic thing they pull from a little, you know, little suitcase, and they go on the roof and they open the suitcase. They they assemble. They take out somebody with a scope, by the way, which is all arguable from a stupid distance. They put away the gun, they put in and they go away. The classic thing you see in those 70s or 80s movies.
Well, the funny
So
thing is the scope mount actually mounts at the screw. Don't ask me why I know this. I'm just telling you the truth. And it's actually really accurate. But the problem is, it better be in place before you use it. Once you take it
okay,
off, the screws. The beautiful part about this gun is everything's so basic. The side plate screw covers everything, honestly. Um, so it almost looks like with an AR7, if you look at it, like it has an area where you can mount a scope. You can't.
hmm
People have done it and it doesn't last because it's
yeah,
aluminum. The receiver is
hmm
aluminum. Everything's aluminum on the gun except
yeah.
for the barrel shroud. Now you can buy, wink, wink, real deal, and not like I have one, but maybe I do.
Maybe I do.
You can buy steel barrels. But honestly, the best barrels I've found came out of, I believe Henry is reproducing it, but Survival Arms were the ones that made it popular. And it was
Okay.
plastic coated, aluminum barrel, and you didn't even need a heat shield because the heat dissipated so quickly. It wasn't
Oh,
like an AK. No matter how many rounds you were throwing out, the heat dissipated really quickly. It was a thick plastic hide, and it was Survival Arms and then Henry who did that. And Henry completed that, I believe. They may have changed it now. I mean, the last Henry I bought was fuck. It was probably, I'm trying to think, 12 years ago or whenever they took it
okay.
over. It was when they first took it over. And the interesting part with the Henry was once you opened up the buckstock to pull everything out, it was not just a black container, it was orange on the inside, so you could actually see it at night, which was a benefit. So
Yeah.
Henry made some good improvements. And also with the old rough, grippy buttstock, the big fat,
hmm
the weakness is the buttstock, but it's also a strength if you're going to go around water or do something survival like. So, honestly, I can't hate on it, but what I will say is I always said everybody was like, "Why don't you use a 1022? Why don't you use a 1022?" I'd be like, "Well, if they make one that comes apart, I'll use it." Guess what I use now, bruh?
Yeah, yeah, the deep
Yeah,
down is that's another cool. I don't know when the 1022 was out. I don't know because I was the point to buy either of the two. Okay, the 1022 or the Henry. I don't know why I picked the Henry. Probably because it got me the. I don't know. The fact that everything was inside the stock and it's what like we said before. That's the thing that fascinated me because of the part of the prepping stuff. You know what I mean? Of survivaling stuff. You know what I mean? Everything compact, ready to go, ready to get the F out. You know,
it
it's
is
already.
a great backpack gun. I
Uh huh.
will never talk shit about that gun as long as you know what you're dealing with.
Oh yeah, yeah.
My big thing is with the 1022. Look, here's people will talk shit about the 22 all the time. 22 round, 22 long rifle. Guess what in Ohio kills more deer, man-sized targets, than anything.
Not bad.
The
Not bad.
22.
Yeah.
Now, by FBI statistics, you guys look this up. What kills more people every year? What caliber would you think kills more people every year?
22 probably is plenty.
22 long rifle. Yeah.
Plus, it doesn't make a lot of, may make noise, but still less than a freaking regular gun. It's not like suppressed or anything. But what I'm saying is, compared to a 9, or a 5.56, it's pretty loud compared to a 22.
Exactly. And if you use a CB round, it makes about the same noise as a suppressed round.
Mm-hmm. And they make all kind of rounds too. They make even stuff. I
Yep.
think they make even for snake. I mean, weird stuff. I mean, stupid stuff probably, but
They make birdshot.
yeah. Yeah, that's right.
And they make subcaliber, which has no rounds coming out of it. It's just a starter gun kind of thing. So I
Okay.
mean, it's a blank round. So I mean, they make a lot of rounds. Actually, 22 caliber is one of the calibers approved for a mace round they shoot out of it. So I
Okay.
mean, there's a lot of stuff that happens, and 22 is very ubiquitous. It's a good round. Like I said, the only reason I still have my stuff where they're at, but I have only one 1022, and in Ohio, if poachers number one gun they use Ruger 1022, and it has a
Mm-hmm.
25 round. It has a 10 round and a 25 round magazine. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Plus, it's cheap to shoot. Everybody can shoot it. 22 is like no recoil or anything, so it can be used by anybody. It's a good
Exactly.
training gun. Mm-hmm.
Well, you and I had a conversation one time. Every time I come back from a combat zone, what two guns do I go to? My 22s, my pistol, and my rifle, because I have to clean up the nasty habits I built in combat.
Yeah.
No, it's true.
No, absolutely. No. Say, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I was saying, yeah, because, and
So
people are like, plus it's a matter of training. Everybody, oh, it's 22, they start laughing. Well, you don't get shot by anything. 22 or not 22. I heard a friend of mine that works for the ER says that one of the nastiest wounds he sees all the time are 22. The people think that it's a small bullet. Oh, it doesn't do anything. Like, nah, actually, it does. If you know, like every round, But
well, here's a
size
funny
doesn't matter.
here's a funny story for you. A buddy of mine, this is years ago, uh, he was dicking around in his house with his buddy,
Mm-hmm.
and they're playing around with a 22. Now, the largest bone in the human body is that thigh bone, right? And he was trying to play like he was Wyatt Earp or whatever, spinning the gun. I'll never forget this when he did it. He spun that gun, and being a moron, he probably jerked it or whatever he did. And he hit that big tibia. I think it's the tibia or fibia. I can't remember which bone that was. But he hit that. He broke his bone. He had to be. He had to call the police and tell them, I know what he really did. He said the same thing to me that he did to the police, but I'm pretty sure he was spinning the gun, being a moron. And he was like, it just went off. I was cleaning it. I don't believe him, but whatever. It's his story. But that big ass bone he broke,
Yeah.
and look, a 22 takes down deer every year in Ohio, and probably where
Mhm.
you're from, brother. And it's poaching, but when you're looking at a man-sized target, 200 plus pounds, and it's dropping them, it's about shot placement. And the one thing about both those guns is the shot placement is perfect if you use it enough and train with it enough. Am I
Mhm.
incorrect?
No, no, absolutely. If you know, like we said before, if you know what you're doing with the round, it's, again, no point, like like I said before, any round is lethal if you know what you're doing with, Like we said before, the Mossad were using a freaking Beretta 71 for most of the dirty jobs. Of course, they were shooting for a few feet away, but still, if you think about it, people laugh, and I'm like, not really. You know, one of the few guns that we were able to put a little can on it, back in time, and yeah, I mean, it's all matter to know the platform that you have. Doesn't matter if you have a 50 cal, 7.62 or 5.56. Doesn't matter if you don't know what you're doing. You gotta know. Look, like I keep telling everybody, don't buy 75,000 guns if you have 300 round in your you know what I mean, a storage room. That's no freaking point. Learn to use the gun you have. Don't put optic. Don't put red dot. You learn to use the sights. Learn to know how the gun function. Don't freak out if the gun malfunction. Pull the freaking magazine. Rack the gun 3 times. You know what I mean? It's like we go back. Same story for the ammo. Know the ballistic of your ammo. Know exactly what you can do with that. Don't over expect. Oh, I'm shooting a 300. This rifle should be able to shoot 800 yards. Where says that? Oh, I read it on the internet. No, that's probably a sniper too. By the way, you're not a sniper, so you don't know how the wind works. You don't know what ammo they use. Doesn't matter. It's all matter of
Yep.
know your platform, like everything. It's um, which unfortunately, with nowadays, 1 hour range time, and indoor with 5 people behind you looking at you, it's not probably the easiest thing to do. So if you're lucky enough to own land that you can go shoot outside with your friend, in a relaxed way if you want to, I always recommend everybody try different people guns, learn how to go their platform. Don't object to try different rifles. If I don't want to shoot. Make an example, okay? I don't like Glock. I don't want to try Glock. Well, shoot it. See how it works. Or AKs. AK is a piece of shit and inaccurate. Well, not really.
Yep.
Depends. I beg to differ. Or because you see a Taliban with a Lee Enfield on the top of the hill. Oh, it's a piece of shit. It will never hit me. Well, I beg to differ.
Fuck yeah, I beg to differ on that one completely.
No,
Lee Enfield, SMLE, will fucking drop you in a heartbeat.
oh, Nagant, everyone Nagant. Oh, no, what are you going to do? Be like enemy at the gates? No, not enemy at the gates. But if I need to use it, if I'm trying to stop something, I'll probably go for that and 5.56. If you look at the size of the bullet,
Yep.
see how big is it? Now, think about it. Still using a PKM and PSL and Dragunov. One of the most effective machine guns are PKMs or PKs,
Yep.
and they use. And
7.62 by 54 R.
correct, Mundo. I totally agree. It's not the most controllable rifle in the world, but I respect it. If I find a couple of people shooting at me with that, or SKSs or stuff like that, even if they're obsolete gun, I would always look at them with respect. Because if they know what they're doing with that gun, you know, versus you know to use your sights, they have an advantage. But again, it's a matter of training. Like in the army, we in Italy we had, and I'm gonna probably need to take off in a few minutes, but in Italy we had my main gun was anti-tank weapons and machine guns, and we have like as a duty gun, if you want to call it like that, we have M1 Garand, which is an obsolete gun for 1990s. But if you were zeroing properly and the gun was actually in good shape, you could have good clean hit at 800 meters, easy, if you know what you were doing. So
Hell yeah, man. I'm gonna let you go real quick, but you have spoken so much truth. If a skilled operator, I don't give a fuck if it's a 22 or a 7.62 by 54R. If somebody knows what they're doing, they're skilled, they do their job, they'll put it into you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same with scorpions, Czechoslovakians used to use.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very important thing that you brought up, man. And I appreciate you brought this up on my channel. And before you go, I love you, brother, on a lot of levels. I know you do. I want you to pimp your channel on my page. Tell me anything you're doing that you're proud of and you want to do and have people look at.
Sure.
Um, I'm just continuing a conversation you and I have had numerous times,
All right.
but we've also, the AR7 thing, I thought I could bring something to it that maybe
Oh
you
yeah.
didn't know. And that's the only
No,
reason why you're here tonight because you're my guest. I'm not
thank you.
yours.
No, thank you for all the knowledge you share like all the time. I follow your show, not all of them, but most of the time I listen at work when I'm not supposed to say that with headphones. But and that being said, if people look at my channel, it's called Eltenda's channel. You can probably put under the video the link. It's a small channel, it's about 200 and 300 views. It's very hard getting viewers and subscribers right now, but what I like, what I heard through the years is the respect of people like you and viewers like the one I have. They always leave good comments, constructive comments, no spam. And the fact that I have people coming back and telling me, "Yeah, listen, thank you very much for, thank to you, I bought this product and I really like it." And I changed through the year. At the beginning, I was doing mostly prepping stuff, survival stuff. I somehow moved into the bugging in to bugging out because I changed my location. So I kind of stopped doing that stuff. Uh, but it was a different, was a different time. Also, there was a bunch of people doing that. Now they all disappeared. So what I'm doing right now, mostly I try to do review, simple review, easy stuff. You can't do too much of guns meeting between slashes because unfortunately YouTube will take you down. You know. So
Oh, I agree.
that being said, that's it. I mean, nothing else to add. I'd like to thank you very much, you and your listener for keep us company today, and I hope we're gonna have another show soon, maybe talking about maybe something different. But I don't mind talking about guns
Oh
actually. But
shit. We'll talk about just fun times during the Cold War. But
oh,
in all honesty, this man that I introduced you to today is probably one of the best men you'll ever know. And I mean
thank
that in a lot of ways. And we've known each other for a few years. Um, so, folks, please go to his page, eltenda. Go on and say it again.
Eltenda channel,
Yep,
Eltenda's channel.
yep. And please go look at him. He has more viewers than I do, but all my viewers, I don't care if you leave me and you go to him. I uh, I respect him that much, and so the point being is, I hope you and your family and everything going on have a great night. And I know you have to go. And notice I didn't use no music tonight.
Awesome.
And it's because I respect him that much. And honestly, brother, be well, be blessed, be safe.
You too.
Shuffle.
Stay safe and watch your six.
Awesome. Always watch my six just like you do. Shuff out.